Hey everyone, welcome back to the Tatas Cave. This is Season 1, Episode 11. Finding your spiritual path and meeting your ancestors where they are. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. So finding your spiritual path, that is something that I get asked a lot. Like, it's such a common question that every time I hop on some sort of a voice channel, a spaces, or something, it gets brought up. How will I know what my path is? Can I get a reading with you and figure out what tradition I should go into? So basically, the short answer is no, you cannot. There's a lot of people that practice traditions, ATRs specifically, with a colonizer mindset, and they believe that they have the ability to tell you from behind their tradition which other tradition you should participate in. This is not the case. This is not true. This is not right. This is wrong on so many different levels. What they can tell you is whether you belong in the tradition that they are in. So, for example, a Baba or an Iya that practice Ifa can tell you whether you belong in Ifa yourself. But what they cannot tell you through an Ifa divination is whether you belong in Palo or not. No, this does not work. This does not make sense. Ifa comes from West Africa. Palo comes from Central Africa. It's two different regions. They're even from different ethnic groups. They don't even speak the same languages. This does not make sense. And then there's always the justification of Orula is the perfect, the divine witness to all of creation. He is the perfect one, so he can tell you your destiny no matter where else. First off, Orumila is the divine witness. Agreed. In your tradition, Orumila can tell you about your destiny in your tradition, but what he cannot tell you is whether you should be in another tradition, because he himself is not from that tradition. So he holds no authority, no weight in that tradition. And the same is true vice versa, right? No Congo spirit can tell you, no matter how much of a badass they are, no matter how divine that spirit is, they cannot tell you what you should and should not be doing within Ifa. Period. It's just no. So the correct thing to do is to look at the different ATRs and find out which ones resonate with you, which ones you like, which ones you feel. And then go to those traditions, specifically, and ask if you belong within them. And there you will have your answers on which ones you belong in and which ones you don't. But what you cannot do is go to any one priest or priestess anywhere and have them tell you all the traditions that you do or do not belong to. That's not how that works. You're going to have to excuse me too, because I'm currently recording while I have the biggest thunderstorm brewing above my head. So y'all might hear, the remnants of that storm in the background. But I'm going to keep recording, because you know what they say, right? Congo folk ain't scared of no storm, bruh. No storm. We ain't scared. Let it come. Deja que venga la tormenta, soy maduhu. Yeah, that's the song that speaks on it. But yeah, anyways, it's not okay to have any one tradition speaking on all other traditions. This is a colonizer mindset, and this is something that has been going on with these traditions, and certain people have appointed themselves the authority of other traditions. This is not okay. This is a colonizer mindset. This is conquistador shit. This is not how these traditions are actually meant to be practiced. These traditions are completely separate from each other, and so they need to be practiced completely separate from each other. Yes, you can be initiated into several traditions at once. That is true. Um, but one tradition cannot tell you what you have to do within the other. So when you're practicing this, you're doing this and this only. When you're practicing that, you're doing that and that only. Um, Mixing the two is a very bad idea. Things do not tend to work well when you mix the two. And even if they did, you would still have, let's say, for example, a favorite between the two. So you would end up basically creating a Frankenstein of an ATR, something that did not previously exist. Um, and it's all basically fueled by your bias, your preferences. So there's no tradition then. At that point, you just made something up. Um, but yeah, so that's the whole like issue with these things. You cannot mix these things together. You cannot have one commenting on another. Absolutely not. I don't care what your elders taught you. If they taught you otherwise, they taught you wrong. And they probably taught you wrong because they themselves were taught wrong. Period. There is no such thing as Ifa telling someone whether they can or cannot get initiated into Palo, or whether they should or should not feed this pot or work with this spirit. There is no such thing. This does not exist. This is stuff that people made up and added and started pushing around because they have this conquistador mindset of Ifa owning Palo. And that's not how that works. The same could be said and vice versa. Again, Palo has no say in nothing Ifa. Palo cannot tell you, you need to go get crowned this Orisha. You need to receive this ceremony. Absolutely the fuck not. This does not make sense. And so when you start untangling that mess, right, and you start understanding all these different traditions are literally their own thing, complete in and of themselves, you'll notice that some people have a path towards multiple traditions and some people don't. And even when some people have a path towards multiple traditions, some of those paths in those traditions, they're not really fully meant to be the be all end all priest or priestess. For example, someone can have a path towards initiation in Palo, but never really have a path or a destiny of greatness within Palo. Their initiation within Palo is basically to, how do I explain this? To make good, to do good by the Congo spirits because they have Congo ancestors. But their path, their spiritual journey, where their crown lies, might not even be in Palo. It might be in Lukumi or in Isheshe. So in that case, yes, they would initiate into Palo, but it would make no sense for them to be trying to push the subject of priesthood within Palo. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't gain them anything. If anything, it actually kind of hurts them because, let's be honest, some of these titles and some of these ceremonies are very expensive. Let's be real here. So gaining a title that you don't even need just because, yeah, you just throwing money away at this point. And that's considering if your elder even allows it, and if the spirits even allow it, because some elders like myself, I don't care how much you offer me. If the spirit said you don't belong as a priest, you will not be a priest. Not from my hands, you won't. You could go ahead and kick rocks and move around and find someone else that will sell you that title. It's gonna be expensive, but yeah, not from my hands. I do what the spirit said when they said it, and that's that. So even on that, so you can have multiple paths into multiple traditions, and not necessarily need to be the be all end all in every tradition. Maybe you're just a part of this specific tradition or that one, as a way to do good by those spirits, as a way to do good by those ancestors. But then in reality, the one that you should be leaning towards is a different one. And so because of this, you'll see that there is several people that have mixed bloodlines. Very often they end up in multiple traditions. You could see this in Cuba, where there's a lot of people that end up in Palo and Lukumi, right? And the interesting part is sometimes they lean more towards Lukumi than they do Palo. Other times they lean more towards Palo than they do Lukumi. And, you know, people have always had this little question in the back of their mind. Why is that? Why? Because, see, they're taught wrong, and they're taught that, like, once you go to Lukumi, then Palo is beneath you. And they don't understand that it is not. It is absolutely not. There is no such thing as beneath. There is no hierarchy to these traditions. This is a made up concept. This is a lie. The biggest lie from within these traditions in Cuba was the hierarchy, and the concept of, like, once you go to Orisha, then you can never practice something else. That's bullshit. So the reasoning why sometimes people lean one way rather than another is because, well, from the very beginning, that's what resonated more with them. And don't get me wrong, this could be a person with a strong Congolese, Bakongo lineage, you know? And for some odd reason, they have a very small percentage of Yoruba, but they resonate more with the Orisha traditions. And so, yes, they will be initiated into Palo to do good by those Congo ancestors, but what they resonate with is the Orisha. And so they end up initiated in Palo, but really practicing as a Babalosha or Iyalosha. Palo only really becomes a talking point as it becomes necessary. The same is true vice versa, right? A person could have a huge amount of, let's say, Yoruba bloodline, and a tiny little percentage of Congo bloodline, and yet they resonate more with Palo. And so they would go through with the investigations on the Lukumi side to figure out, okay, well, what do I need to do to do good by my ancestors? And once they got that and they did whatever they had to do, then they turn and focus on Palo, and they are much more so full-time Palo folk. And then the Orisha only become a talking point when it becomes necessary. There is nothing wrong with this, okay? Keep in mind, I'm not mentioning other traditions because I'm not very well versed in other traditions. I didn't grow up around those. But it will be the same with them, right? They are their own thing, and no other tradition can come in and tell you how to work that tradition. That doesn't make sense. It's a nonsensical non-starter, okay? Leave it alone. That's not how this works. So things like hoodoo, things like voodoo, things like Akan, Obia, all these things, all these traditions have their own practices, their own thing in place, their own protocols in place. You cannot, from a Palo standpoint, tell them how to practice that. You cannot, from an Ifa standpoint, tell them how to practice that. That's not okay. Absolutely not. That needs to be stopped. Someone somewhere made this bullshit up, and they put it in a book somewhere for others to learn it, and the shit has continued to roll downhill ever since. And now people swear up and down that Ifa tells you how to and when and if you can practice Palo. And that is not the case. And if it continues in this path, it won't be long before other people, for the sake of glory, for the sake of their own ego, they just start adding more and more to these odus, about how you should or should not be initiated into voodoo, or how you should or should not practice hoodoo. Um, these things are not okay. We need to stop this. Speaking of Ifa, right? I want to mention this because I'm a little bit pissed off at some of you guys out there on the internet. You know how often over the course of the last 2 years I have seen people out here talking about some Oshun this, Oshun energy that, Oshun, Oshun, Oshun. Y'all, the Oshun River right now, is facing a very big threat. There's a petition going around that, let's be honest, it doesn't nearly have enough signatures on it. How about everyone that was out here the last 2 years screaming Oshun this, Oshun that? How about y'all keep the same energy and sign the damn petition? Y'all want to claim her name and claim her blessings, but when it's her river under attack, where is everybody that was claiming her name? Where are they at? Where are all these priests and priestesses that be over here praying, and talking about Oshun this and Oshun that? Where the hell y'all at? Don't get me wrong, that's just my opinion from a humble Tata. I have nothing to do with Oshun, but I got enough respect to not be out here invoking her name and talking about how, oh, Oshun this, Oshun that, and then when I see her rivers in trouble, I do nothing with my arms crossed. Hell no, y'all should have learned something from looking at Palo. Palo doesn't have a home to go to. If you do not protect the Oshun River, guess who else won't have a home to go to? Open your damn eyes, wake the hell up, and if you're going to be sitting here playing behind her name for clout, how about you do something? You do something for that name to count somewhere, for that name to mean something, not just for you, for the next generations. But yeah, go get on that petition. Get on that petition. Spread awareness. Even if you don't like the petition, let's be honest, not everyone will. And some folks might even have an issue with whoever started the petition or something like that. Listen, that's fine. But at least spread awareness. Y'all are over here with your arms crossed, being real quiet. But, you know, for the last few years, there has been a lot of trending and viral tweets and this and that behind that name of Oshun. And right now her river's under attack. And where the hell y'all at? Why ain't this trending? Why ain't this going viral? Where the hell is y'all at? But yeah, that's a side note. But yeah, so as I was saying, you really have to approach each individual tradition to find out whether you belong there or not. And you can belong to multiple ones, but it is very often where you will notice that you will end up leaning more heavily towards one than the other. That's okay. There's not a problem there. But where the problem begins is when people start mixing them together or start trying to dictate that one commands the other, one tells the other how to practice. This is where you start getting into bad situations. And then the problem is, right, a lot of folks that are not initiated, and even the ones that are supposedly quote unquote initiated and they don't know shit, keep speaking on shit and keep spreading misinformation. And they're spreading misinformation that is leading to more people that don't know shit looking to reconnect with their ancestors and doing it wrong. And this spreads and this spreads and it spreads and it spreads all the way up until the point where everybody and their grandmama is doing the damn tradition wrong. And now they want to tell everyone that is doing it right that they're wrong. That's bullshit. Stop that. If you ain't initiated, or if you are initiated and you just don't know shit, don't be out here spreading these lies, this misinformation. Please, only speak on shit that you really know about. Only speak on shit that you really did learn about. Only speak on shit that you could really sit down and logically explain as to why that works that way. You understand the mechanics behind it. It's not just, oh, because such and such told me. No, Explain the mechanics behind it. If you can't explain the mechanics behind what it is that you're saying, then maybe you shouldn't be saying it, because you yourself don't even know what the hell you talking about. So untangle all the traditions, right? So what you want to do is forget what everybody else is saying. For the record, you want to sit down and you want to look into all the traditions that are available to you. And then you want to research all of them, all of the above, because when you don't have a direction, the only correct direction is all directions, right? So you look at all of them. Obviously, some, you know what? That's not gonna sit right with you. You're gonna be like, nope, I could rule this out. Absolutely not. Others, it'll be like kind of iffy. You know what? I'm gonna put this on the list, but near the bottom. And then others, they're gonna click with you right away. Boom, right at the top of the list. Now, me personally, I spoke to my ancestors way before I even cared to look into any tradition. And I told them, listen, I need you to guide me to where I need to be. Guide me there. And when I get there, show me that this is where I should be. So that's exactly what they did. They guided me. And when I got there, they showed me that that's where I was supposed to be. So that's rule number 1, talk to your ancestors first. Rule number 2, get all the traditions that you are aware of that are an option to you and start looking into them and trying to understand roughly how they work, what the mentality is, what the social faux pas is, stuff like that. Figure out what it look like. And if it resonates, that's at the very top of your list. And if it don't, you know what, let's put that at the bottom of the list. So then what you're going to do is you're going to go through the top of your list, and one by one you will seek elders, responsible elders from within that tradition, and seek a definitive answer if you even have a path within that tradition. For example, if Palo came up in your top 3, your next step should be to see if you can do a sit down with a Tata somewhere. It doesn't necessarily have to be me, for the record, but it can be, if that's what you're inclined to. But find a Tata somewhere, sit down with them, and ask the Congo spirits, hey, look, I resonate with y'all. I'm really feeling Palo. Do I have a path in Nkisi Malungu? And you will get an answer. If Ifa is in your top 3, go and find a Baba and sit down and ask them, hey, look, I resonate. Do I have a path in Ifa? If Lukumi is what resonates, go and find a Babalosha Yalosha. Sit down with them. Ask them if you have a path in that tradition. This is the only correct way to know what you do and do not have a path in. This is how you untangle that mess. And it's the best way, because you're leading with your ancestors, and 2, you're leading with what you feel. So now it's not people telling you what you should practice. It's you feeling a connection to something. So the possibility for you to practice is already there. And then they tell you if that connection is felt on the other side as well. And then that's confirmation, if it is, that you really do belong there. But yeah, that's the best way to untangle that. All right, and now moving on to the subject of meeting your ancestors where they are. Originally, I wasn't even going to talk about this, but one of my godchildren, Tia, sent me a message, and it reminded me, like, you know what? Let's talk about this. There's so much emphasis on the ancestors. My ancestors this, my ancestors that, my ancestors, my ancestors. But no one really practices what their ancestors practiced. A lot of folks are leaving church to find spirituality and find traditions. And one of the main talking points that they have, one of the main reasons, is because in the church, they want to worship Jesus, but they don't want to worship what Jesus worshipped. Jesus was Jewish, so what the hell we doing being Christian? Okay, but now you're doing it again because you talking about your ancestors, your ancestors, your ancestors, and then you practicing something that has nothing to do with them. Wake up. Hello? Meet your ancestors where they are. Speak the languages that they spoke. Practice the practices that they practiced. Be an extension of them. And this is how you connect with them on a much deeper level than what you think you are connected to them now. People constantly say that they're connected to their ancestors, and they come and they sit next to me, and then they feel some kind of way because then they realize they're not connected at all. They just know who they are, but they're not really connected. I'm connected. And they start looking at me very differently, and they start feeling, a little bit salty. And that's when the questions start coming in. And I need y'all to understand, this is not because I'm sort of magical, some sort of magical being or none of this other bullshit. This is because I met my ancestors where they were at. I met these Congo spirits with Congo traditions that they did practice. Not what I want to practice, not what I think they should practice, what they practiced. So Palo, in and of itself, is the continuation of the shamanism that was found continentally in the old Congo kingdom. Some people refer to it as Mana-Congo, like myself. Mana-Congo, the old Congo, before colonization, before it was split into these smaller territories. There was shamanism by the different tribes, and that shamanism became Palo in Cuba. And so when I reach back out to my ancestors through Palo, I'm reaching out to them through the tradition they practice. When I speak to them in Kikongo, I'm speaking to them in a language they spoke. And so the bond between me and them is very real. Oh, that's a very big bond. Because you see, anyone can say, I love my ancestors, I love them, I love them, I love them. But you know what? If you keep addressing them in different languages with different traditions, you ain't nothing but a stranger telling them you love them. How are you like us? You is nothing like us. I mean, we related somewhat, but like, how are you like us? Why should we help you when you can't even respect us enough to address us accordingly? These are all things that is, people overlook. And so when you come at them from a place of love, and you come at them and you meet them where they are, you will notice that bond is much more intense than what people say it is, what people think it is. There's a bond that is so intense that, a lot of times Balo folk don't actually do nothing. We get accused of a lot of like hexing and cursing people and all this other stuff, but a lot of times we don't really do nothing. What's really going on is you did something, and our spirits have such a strong bond with us that they just go and respond on their own, of their own free will. So you talked behind my back, and you tried to make me look like shit out here on these streets. You was starting rumors about me. I didn't hex you. My spirit heard them rumors, and he took it upon himself to clap your legs. That's the kind of bond we have. I don't need to say nothing. I don't need to do nothing. We out here that close. And when my spirits suffer, I suffer. And when I suffer, they suffer. So it's a lot more involved than what people think it is. And it all really starts with meeting them where they're at. Speak the languages they spoke. Practice the traditions they practiced. Don't do all this other nonsense that don't make no damn sense. Do not approach Congo spirits talking about Ashe. What the hell is wrong with you? Do not approach Congo spirits talking about Egun. Why? What for? Do not approach Yoruba spirits talking about some Ensambi. What the fuck? come at them from a place of familiarity. You are their descendants. Act like it. Act like their entire life was for something, not nothing. Act like they gave their life preserving traditions so that their future generations, their descendants, can know and practice the traditions that they left behind. But when you sit here and you refuse to come at them where they're at, and you come from where you want to come, then you're going by your ego. And I could tell you how that ends. Your ego will lead you down very, very many streets, some of which contain trickster spirits. Some of y'all get lied to all the damn time. Y'all are being misled by trickster spirits, telling y'all that they are your ancestors, and that's why you hear these kinds of subjects of like, oh no, sometimes your ancestors want to hurt you. What? No, they don't. What the hell is wrong with you? No, they don't. The ancestors will never want to hurt you. If you have a quote unquote ancestor that wants to hurt you, that's not an ancestor, that's a trickster spirit. I don't know what the hell kind of ancestors y'all got, but like their existence literally revolves around your existence. So for them to want to erase you means they want to erase themselves. That makes no damn sense. But anyways, that's just one scenario of the many. You know, there's a lot of different things that can go wrong when you are approaching spirits from where you want to be. You want to be stubborn. You want to do things your way instead of doing things the right way. There are so many things that could go wrong. What if you do bump into an ancestor and you know what? This ancestor was a big time shaman, a big time priest. And while you over here bullshitting, they over here on a whole nother level. And you could have had all the damn blessings in the world behind that one ancestor. All you had to do was listen and meet them where they are. But instead, you know, your ego leads you to say, I am a god, goddess, king, queen, emperor of the empress. I eat the sun and shit out Skittles. And so that ancestor will turn around and be like, oh no, I'm nobody. I don't know nothing. Yeah, I'm new. I'm new here. I don't know nothing. And so you see, you blocked your own blessings by your ego. Your ego blocked your blessings. And that's, as I said, that's on the nicer side of things. Because yes, you absolutely can get caught up with trickster spirits. Yes, you absolutely can get caught up with ancestors that are pissed and sick of your shit. And they will hurt you about it. Yes, they will. And I know that contradicts my previous statement, but that's because you provoke them. It's not that they want to hurt you, it's that you provoke them into hurting you. You piss them off. Do you have any idea what you sound like when you address a Congo spirit talking about Asheo, Egundis, Olodumare that? Do you know what you sound like? I'll tell you what you sound like. You sound like a person that says all black folk look alike. That's what you sound like. Oh no, all the ancestors was just African, so you know I could just say Asheo, Olodumare that, and you know we good. What the hell is wrong with you? Now when them ancestors come over here and snatch your edges and beat your ass, I hope you know you brought it on yourself. Because you was talking to Congo spirits, implying that all spirits is the same, all black spirits is the same. That's not okay. Certain ancestors will have different languages, different practices. You should meet them where they're at. You should want to meet them where they're at. You shouldn't be forced to. You should want to. Because you see, that goes with the culture, right? If these are truly your ancestors and you're truly trying to reconnect with them, you will want to learn the culture. You will want to see who you once were. This has been taken from you, but you can still see and learn the culture, the traditions, how they were, who they were, how they lived their day-to-day life. This is just as important as how to hex somebody or how to cleanse or how to do a divination. This part, learning how to live that life, what the culture looked like, what the tradition looked like, this is just as important, right? And when you approach them from a place outside of wanting to meet them there, where basically you want to do what you want to do, you skip over the traditional part, you skip over the cultural part, you're not really learning who they were or who you are. What you're doing is you're telling them who they are. And that doesn't work that way. They already been here. They already lived their life. They the ones that's telling you who you are, because you're the one that suffers from amnesia, not them. You're the one that forgot who you are. You're the one that forgot where you come from, not them. You're the one that prays to them. They do not pray to you. They don't need you. You need them. So it's really asinine to see all these people try to approach their ancestors from a place of like, I'm going to do it my way. No. Meet them where they are. Let them show you the culture. Let them show you the tradition. Let them show you the day-to-day. And while you're at it, you're building that bond. This is like vibing with the family, you know. You're learning all the family rules as you're growing up, you know. As you step more and more to it with them, you learn more and more different family rules that aren't written nowhere. It's just, this is how the family works. For example, I ain't never been to somebody's house that has specifically in writing on the wall whether you take off your shoes or leave your shoes on at the front door. Never. I never seen that. But in my house, when people walk through the door, all my god kids take their shoes off by the front door. But that's not a written rule. How did they learn that? From spending time, from observing, from being a part of it, from meeting me where I'm at. And then I could get to explaining why, but that's beyond the point. It could have been any other example. The only way you learn these things, the only way you learn these cultures, these little things that make a big difference, is by spending time and meeting them where they at. So please people, stop trying to go to one tradition looking for the answers to all traditions. That's not how that works. No one tradition should have authority over any other. And meet your ancestors where they at. Talk to them in their language. Practice what they practice. See how that don't change the bond you have with them. And for all you folks out there that aren't doing these things already, that are claiming titles and giving opinions out here online, maybe y'all should pipe down a little bit. I'm just saying. I'm not coming at you next or nothing, but like, yeah, y'all spreading misinformation out here, man. Y'all making it. Just remember this. As hard as it was for you to get into these traditions, you're making it harder for the next people. You are creating that problem. So if you really care about the next folks that's trying to reconnect with their Yoruba ancestors, with their Congo ancestors, XYZ, stop speaking on things you don't know about. Stop teaching people to colonize, to be conquistadors. Start teaching people how to love all their ancestors equally, how to differentiate the different traditions, how each tradition is important, and how specifically meeting your ancestors where they're at is important. And leave your ego behind, leave your entitlement behind. I'm gonna tell y'all something. Balo and a lot of these other ATRs, they don't click well with this modern American mentality. Modern American mentality and capitalism actually directly oppose these traditions. You need to leave the entitlement behind. You cannot be above correction. And you need to leave the capitalist mindset behind, because those capitalist mindsets make you vulnerable to scams and frauds. These people will be out here waiting to take you for your money. They will know that you have a capitalist mindset and take full advantage of that and hurt you. But not you. They'll hurt your bank account. So please, to all them folks out there with these cute little bios and whatnot, please, spread the truth. Bring the love. Spread the truth. Stop speaking all this other nonsense and misinformation. You setting up the future generations for problems. And as I said, I'm not coming at you next. I'm not specifically targeting anyone here. But With that all being said, thank y'all for listening. I appreciate you. Remember, the Munasoko Dalima Temple of Nkisi is definitely accepting donations. That's how we keep the doors open. And these donations are specifically being used to fund our day-to-day operations. And when we do have to help someone, for example, feed a family or something like that, where do you think that's coming from? That's coming directly from the Munaso itself, from the temple itself. Aside from that, stay tuned. There will be more, I guess you could call them like prizes or like raffles or games or whatever, that I do have programmed. I'm coming up with new ideas. There's certain things in the works. I've been working on my own things to put out there to help the community. But in return, I would like for the community to help the temple. So please, if you can donate, please do donate. Every single donation is appreciated. But if you do not donate, you will not be judged. And please, let me remind y'all, to all of y'all that was out here riding Oshu's name, ride with the same energy on that petition or on spreading awareness that her river is currently under attack. But that's it for today, y'all. Thank you for listening. Remember, spirits first, ancestors first. Y'all have a good one.